day 5 of the recording week. I don't know what this album is called yet.
As yet untitled. Oh, it's been done, hasn't it?
As yet untitled. Well, that was the thing about Ralph's album, Not Till Tomorrow, wasn't it?
Right.
Said,
yeah.
Ralph, have you got a title for your next album? And he said, Not Till Tomorrow. And so that's what they called it.
Moist Towelette.
Moist Towelette. So we've got another project that might appear on.
Yes.
Yeah, Moist Towelette. Yeah, what's in an album? I guess we'll figure out which song we like the most and call it. I don't know.
Something different to that.
It always used to annoy me when they don't call a song something that appears in the song, like...
Appetite for Destruction.
It's not a song, is it? Propaganda, Duel. It's not mentioned. I think she might mention it, but when you think about it, it's about a duel, isn't it?
Right.
Fencing duel. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know what this album's called. I'm not sure when it'll be out, but hopefully we'll have a massive tour, at least of the UK, maybe the world,
or somewhere different.
Or somewhere different, yeah. Or with a 7-piece band and all our crew in attendance. We'll have to have a crew wrangler. Yeah. Anyway, today in our virtual tour of studios, we are back at our old beloved Space Studios. Where did it all begin, Chris?
Back in Cardiff in 2005.
Yeah.
You can tell we're in Cardiff because it's raining outside.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Typical. Yeah, so back in the mists of time in the late Triassic period, we'd often talked about having our own studio, and then in 2005, I think after a couple of years of gainful employment, we decided that was enough for us and taking orders from other people. So we binned it all and went off and set up our own place, and we found what we thought were, at the time, were ideal premises. And we went in, and it was all soundproofed. It was all ready to go. It was an ex-post-production house.
It was pretty cool.
Had a unique smell as well.
Oh,
outside it had a smell as well, the smell of kibble.
The smell of Splot Market.
Oh God, yeah. Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt.
You'll never find a more treacherous hive, etc., etc.
More wretched hive.
I always get it wrong.
So yeah, we moved. We were incorporated as Space Studios in, it was October 2005, wasn't it? And then we moved in to the premises a few days later.
It was just after we released Festival Hall, live at the Royal Festival Hall, 1972, on Mary Hopkin Music. So actually we didn't have the studio.
We didn't know. No, that's right. No.
So all the CDs had to get delivered to our front hall in our terraced house.
Came on a big pallet. That was great. I made a chair out of all of the boxes, and I was sat. I can't find the photo, but I was sat in that chair of boxes.
Yeah. Oh well, those were the days, eh? Anyway, so there we were at Space Studios. We had so many great people there. We had Lady Gaga came in her tour bus. Michael York came by taxi, and then I had to give him a lift back to his hotel in the Bay.
John Barrowman drove down in his Porsche Boxster.
That's right, he did. Yeah. He said, "Have you guys got Wi-Fi?" And we didn't. That's how long ago it was.
Wow, we didn't have Wi-Fi.
You're in the backwater now, actually, John. Who else? Michael York, John Barrowman, loads of people. Desecration used to rehearse there like a rumbling of distant thunder. If you're in the know, Desecration, a legendary death metal band.
Death metal bastards.
Death metal bastards. Bleep that out.
No, that's what they call themselves. They're Welsh death metal bastards.
I used to get flack for saying that I was mates with Desecration. People go, "Oh, everybody says they're mates with Desecration." I said, "No, I really am. I was in a band with Mike, the drummer, the Rosas, and you were in a band with Mike."
I was in several bands.
Several bands with Mike, yeah. And Ollie was a mortician. I don't think he is anymore. And Andy was, I don't know.
People were dying to get into that game. Andy was IT.
IT.
It's still IT, but he's not in Desecration anymore.
No, we found another long head replacement. So we had lots of happy days. People insisted on calling it our lockup. "Oh yeah, can I store my stuff in your lockup?" Like, it's not a lockup, it's a premier, what was it, 2,500 square feet of space, literally space. So it was wonderful, and we tried, our ethos was to get people in to a studio who wouldn't normally access a studio. So we had lots of special needs groups. We had schools for kids with Down syndrome. And then we had lots of parties as well.
Yeah, we did. But we also did the charity days, didn't we?
Make-A-Wish Foundation or something. Yeah. It was really a couple of autistic boys in one day. And we had, and then for the parties, we had people ended up with a lot of special needs there. We had a guy who made his last song with us, with his family.
That was exciting.
Lots of really great, enriching. It was an enriching time.
It was funny because those days were often better than the ones where you had certainly mid-tier talent coming in. The big names were fine because they just knew what they were doing. They knew what they wanted and you gave it to them. Everything was all right. But it was the mid-tier and the lower-tier bands. They were so problematic because they just expected... Well, I think they thought they were better than they were and they expected to have an entourage and everything else there.
Yeah.
So it was so much hard work and, then you get halfway through a song and you realise they don't actually know the song. That was always quite exciting. But when you're working with special needs kids and that kind of thing, it's life affirming because they welcome you straight into their lives.
Yes.
And everything is done with a massive grin on their faces, and it was just brilliant. They were the best days.
Yes.
They were the days when you went home and you looked at yourself in the mirror and you thought, I've done something that was good today.
Yeah. It was awesome because I was working with some friends of ours, Sally. Well, we both worked Sally and Francis. We did some team building days. Community groups, that kind of thing. And then I got involved with the Cardiff Chameleons, who are actually they were a Special Olympics group.
Yes.
But they did a theatre group offshoot. It was just brilliant. It's work that I'd love to get back into.
Was that before we had the studio?
I can't remember. It's all a blur. But it certainly all followed on. And then we had team building. We had team building with various companies and we'd write a song or something.
They were quite fun as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
The stuff with businesses was quite fun.
It was just brilliant. And we had a Foley stage as well that was already there from its history.
Because we wouldn't have built a Foley stage.
No, that was a room literally of junk and mud and gravel on the floor and all that kind of stuff. And that's where we found Trevor. He'd been there from a former life and he looked very sad and lonely.
He looked terrified.
He looked terrified sitting there in the dark, so we rescued him. But the Foley stage led to lots of interesting projects.
Yeah, we did quite a lot. Yeah.
Lots of TV and film, some quite legendary names, and it was great. To be honest, it was great. But in the end, it was expensive.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. So.
And also the other thing is when you've got premises like that, when you've actually got a studio, it's great that we've been going to these lovely studios over this last week.
Yeah.
But we haven't had to worry about getting the fire extinguishers sorted out, or the red care, or the insurance, or the employer's liability, sorry.
Pay and cleaners and
whatever happens, the NIC of the employees goes out. Their wages go out. It's like we haven't had to deal with any of that this time. So.
No. It was. I would put it down to the equivalent of at least an MBA.
At least an MBA.
Yeah.
It was certainly more expensive than us both doing an MBA.
But I think we made a lot of people happy.
Well, yes. Well, the thing is, and it comes back to that when we were saying about the special needs kids. I think we made them happy, and that's kind of worth it. Just think, when you think back of some of those kids, like Rory and all of those, and it's like he was well into it, wasn't he? He went home and he put sonar on his computer and everything else, and he started doing all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah, God, I remembered. It was really great. And I like to think that those skills we still have and we can still offer people and we still are informed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good times in space. So we closed, it's still raining. We closed the doors in 2009. Then we carried on going back there because our friends had taken it over, to cut a long story short, and we went back. They let us use it for more parties, which was really great. We'd just go in for the day and hire it from them. Then we did a few in hotels, didn't we, parties and things like that. And then, but Space Studios is now our group, our company group, under which we operate all the different stuff, the record labels. And
it's interesting, isn't it, that we actually put out Mary's first contemporary album after we left the studio.
Yeah, and mine.
Yes, you did, yeah. Your first album.
We worked on it in the studio.
We tracked it in the studio, yeah.
But, so You Look Familiar, that she did with Morgan, and my I Am Not. I was working on it in that studio, but we'd shut the doors until it finally came out, which proves a point that you spend far too much time worrying about red care and fire extinguishers and toilets.
And not enough on the creativity of what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
working, we became slaves to the business rather than
To the landlords.
Well, and everybody
Most
wants
of
it.
the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
And we did space lounges as well.
We did. If only we'd known. Because I thought about streaming, doing this concept of having stuff going up on YouTube while we were doing the Space Lounge, which was an acoustic-only gig in our live room, Studio 2. And, they were great shows, and we had up to 30 people watching.
Yeah.
And I thought about, I wonder if we could get this on YouTube at the same time. And I didn't have the, as we said, we didn't have Wi-Fi either, so it would have been hard to do that. But
don't think it would have been up to it in those days. But now, of course, they are. The people who are there now is fully streaming and connected via the internet and everything. But those sessions are on. They are on
YouTube, and it's funny you see these things. They haven't aged well.
No.
And even though we put them up at the proper codecs and everything else, you get a bit of everything's all right. And then their legs like
and everyone's a bit squashed.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's all the correct codecs, but I don't know.
They must have changed it. All that hard work we put in. Maybe we can re-edit.
Nah.
We had Brian and Catherine do one. Brian Willoughby, Catherine Craig did one in conjunction with a podcast interview that they did with my mum, Mary, and they did a special closed doors space lounge session with Mary, the Sam Rejected Lover. So that's been very popular on YouTube.
But then Brian and Catherine did. They did play for an audience.
Yeah, they did the whole night, didn't they?
That was packed.
That was awesome. So awesome.
Wow.
So
did we get a bar in for that one as well? Or was it?
We did start getting bars in for something.
I thought we got a bar in for that one and the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Because we knew, obviously, the people were going to be coming in to see.
Yeah.
Because Brian's such a legend anyway. So
yeah. So
so it's Catherine, but
we've done it all, really, things considered. We have to write an achievements board.
I did have hair when we started.
Oh, well, so it's really nice to be back here at Space Studios.
Still
As
raining.
You can see the background here shows some of our rooms that I'll probably put them in. And today we're going to track the last song on our list.
And we don't know it. We haven't. It may not be written yet. So
I'm just going to have a look and see what I've managed to pre-produce, and then we'll knock something up and then we'll review. But it's been a very packed week. We're both knackered.
Yeah.
And probably take the weekend off.
Then back in for overdubs next week.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for it. And then all this while we're waiting for the CDs to be delivered for Two Hearts. So there's not a lot you can do while you're waiting for CDs to be delivered, except maybe set up some interviews, which I'm doing next week. So, I think we're ahead of the game for once.
We are actually, yes. Certainly in terms of our board, our tracking board, we are ahead of the game. So
there we are. Happy days. See you later.
See you in a bit.